Hey guys, today on Welcome Home Custom, we are going to learn how to assemble our eagle. Let's get started. Okay guys, today we are going to assemble our eagle with wind. So you'll see two different folders when you hop into your format that you prefer. There is the separated master and shared line master. Those are used a couple of different ways. So the shared line master, the lines are all shared. So if I were to ungroup, you will see that there's not duplicate lines. Okay, so this is basically a straight cut. You could use this as your backer if you've got a large laser. The only thing that you're going to want to do, however, is make sure that you change all of the inside of your eagle to a score line and just cut the perimeter square. So that is your shared line master. Let's go ahead and import our separated master. And this, if I ungroup, you will notice that the pieces are all different shapes. This is so that you could select your whole piece. We could resize it to the size we want. We could sort out the pieces and then cut by our own grains of wood and add our own kerf. Obviously a lot more in depth. We are going to go ahead and do the easiest method, which is the cut by color. So I am going to jump into the cut by color folder, and you will see I already have it sorted by the different types of wood I used. Now you will also notice that there are two different folders or two different files for some of the woods. So I have cherry and then I have cherry scored. Just cherry, if we open that, this is got your numbers. The pieces are grouped with your number, so you can move your pieces around if you want, or if you're using scrap. Keep in mind, I do have the pieces sorted to follow your wood grain from left to right or right to left. That will play with your piece. So if you are going to move your pieces around, that's okay. Just don't rotate them because you will lose the feel and look of the overall piece with your wood grain. These pieces, because they have the number scored on the back, you will want to put your wood good side face down in your laser, and then you are going to score the number on the back. Now, the pieces that say scored have score numbers or score lines on the top. This is part of the detail that you're going to want to be able to see. I'm going to move this off the artboard so you can see a little better. You want to keep these lines. It is adding additional detail. The numbers are set off to the side so that you don't mess up the piece. You will be putting this wood into your laser good side face up so that we can score the detail onto your pieces. You will also want to make sure that you check your 1 inch square for every single file that you do, just to make sure that nothing has gone crazy or has shrunk. So we would go through and cut each of those individual pieces one by one. You will notice also that some of these you will be able to use the same sheet of wood, or that the sheet of wood is really small. So you could use some scraps. Make sure that you refer to the written instructions to see how big of a piece of wood you actually will need. In a lot of cases, it's just a very small piece. Now you will also notice I actually did use engrave for the oak only, and it's just for his eye and his little nostril and his beak. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump on over to assembling the piece. Okay, so just like any of my bigger pieces, I have already sorted all of the pieces in groups of 10. So 1 through 10, 11 through 20, etc., etc. And then what I like to do is I lay out all the pieces where they are supposed to go. I'm using my color planner as a guide, and this honestly came together pretty quickly. Even though he looks really impressive, he's got a lot less pieces than some of my other bigger designs. So once we have this all done, we will go ahead and start taping. So I developed a method that I like to call the tape, flip, and glue method. It just makes it easier to keep the pieces tight together, and eliminates any major gaps when gluing. So I'm going to use blue tape, and I will make sure the pieces are pulled together fairly tight and then add tape right over the piece. So once I have taped everything up, I would then add a second piece of MDF. It can be scrap. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. And we're going to place it right on top and flip the entire piece over, then exposing the back of the design. So now I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the backer. I probably went a little too heavy on the glue, so be aware that that's more than you need. And I'm going to use a silicone spreader to spread out the glue. I like it because it's got teeth and it leaves little ridges in the glue, which I think helps the MDF and wood adhere. And I just will evenly apply it across the board. I ended up having to remove quite a bit of glue in the end because, again, I added too much. You don't want big puddles of glue. You really want it just smoothed out with the ridges throughout the backer. Now I'm going to grab the backer and I'm going to place it right on top and flip the entire design over again. Now you'll notice my tape is not really holding very well, and that's because I decided to add tung oil before doing this process. I really don't recommend that. I recommend adding your tung oil at the very end of the process. That way you can really clean it up and everything stays together the way it should. I ended up having to do a lot of readjusting and finessing, and then you can see where my glue also seeped because I used way too much. Now we're going to place the backer board or the scrap board right back on top, and I'm going to weigh it down with sandbags. I use photography sandbags. They're really easy to use. They've got a handle, and I use it not only to weigh down projects like this, but also to just weigh down my wood that I'm storing day in and day out. Now, because of beautiful YouTube time, I've already let this dry overnight, weighed down with my sandbags, and I am going to go ahead and clean it up, checking to see if my glue seeped anywhere, which it definitely did. I'm not going to freak out about it. I went through and picked off the bigger pieces of glue and then sanded and reapplied a second coat of tung oil. Now, I would recommend, if you are going to sand and reapply tung oil, that you should probably go ahead and sand and scuff the whole piece rather than just the sections like I have done here. Okay guys, that's it. Hopefully this tutorial helped you assemble your own bald eagle. Make sure to subscribe and check out my other tutorials. Thanks so much.